Hello YouTube, it is Cherry Coco back again to do another video. Yes, I told you guys that I would be back, that I was not going to fall off the face of the earth. And this time, I guess I want to tell a little story, a little true story that happened to me. And I don't know why I thought about this the other day. Maybe because I was talking to one of my old coworkers, but a story that happened to me maybe about 2 years back on my birthday. So I am at work one day, maybe like the day before my birthday. I usually never, ever, ever work on my birthday. So I'm at work one day, and the receptionist, who's a friend of mine, I absolutely love her, called me and say, hey, come up to the front desk for a second. I want to let you know something. So I'll go up to the front desk, and she says, someone was asking about you, your first and last name. Want to know all this information about you. She said I was very vague. She says I didn't know if you had a stalker or bill collector or what. She said, but I just wanted to let you know they wouldn't, tell her who they were. So she was just very vague in the information that she gave. And I'm like, okay. Now, I'm in the company that I worked for at the time. I don't work for this company anymore. Had two offices. I worked in one, and then there was another one out east. So there's two offices. So I'm like, okay, well, thank you for not giving out any information or whatever. So about an hour and a half later, I get a delivery for flowers, and it says happy birthday. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It didn't say who it was from or anything. And I'm like, oh my goodness, how adorable. My husband sent me flowers on my birthday to my job. And they were beautiful flowers, and I set them on my desk, and I was just so happy and so proud, and just like, oh, I got flowers for my birthday, yada, yada, yada. Even though my birthday, it might have been 3 days away. So the next day, I get a phone call from a girl at the other office who has a similar name. And she's like, did you receive flowers on your birthday? I've never talked to her before. I've only seen her name in like mass emails to everyone that works at the company. And I told her, yeah, I did receive flowers. And she was like, oh, I think those were meant for me. My mom sent me flowers, but they were sent to you by accident. And I'm like, well, they have my name on it. She was like, well, my name is actually something, but they call me Sherry for short. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I do apologize, but they said my name, my first and last name, and that they were flowers, and it said happy birthday, and it is my birthday. So she was like, okay. She was like, yeah, but I need you to reimburse my mom for the flowers. I said, no. I said, you can call the florist and say that they made a mistake and maybe they can reimburse her. I said, but I'm not about to give you money for those flowers. She was like, but you took those flowers knowing they weren't yours. And I said, no. I took those flowers thinking they were mine because they had my name on the card and it said happy birthday, and it is about my birthday. She was like, but they're not yours, and my mom doesn't have a lot of money and she's sick, and that's just not fair. You were wrong for that. And I said, I am not going to be paying for these flowers. If your mom wants to complain to the florist, she can do that. But they even called and verified, and this is the information that your mother gave them. So I do apologize, but I'm not going to give you the money back. And she was like, well, let me just let the owner know and see what he says about it. And I said, still, I don't know what to tell you because I didn't do anything wrong. I feel like somebody sent me flowers. I signed for them. They were my flowers. I said, I've never met you. I don't know you. I'm not paying for the flowers. And she kept saying, well, we'll just let the owner know. I'm not going to say his name. I'll call him Brad. Well, I'll just let Brad know. And I said, okay. And she was like, yeah, I think Brad needs to hear about this. And I said, that will be in everyone's best interest for you to let Brad know and see what he has to say about it. Now, I don't understand how she thought that just because he was the owner of the company that he was going to make me reimburse her mother. for a mistake that I didn't make. I didn't make the mistake. The florist or her mother, to me, was the one who made this mistake. I don't understand why she have to pay for her flower just because I signed for them when they had my name on them. It was my name. It wasn't even her real name. That was her nickname. But it was my real name on the flowers. So I get an email about an hour later. Not even from Brad, but it was from his assistant in human resources that asked if I could just leave the flowers on the reception desk, and when one of our other reps went over to the office in a couple of days, that she'll just drop the flowers off to the other girl at the other office out east. But yeah, she was really upset that I was not going to actually give her mother money for flowers. And I kind of felt bad because mistakes happen all the time. But was I responsible for that? Should I have actually paid for those flowers? And they were nice flowers. And she kept talking about how expensive they were. Now, they were nice flowers, but they weren't, it wasn't a dozen roses or white roses or anything like that. It was a nice floral display. I still, just to this day, do not think that I'm responsible for reimbursement of the flowers. And I guess she called the florist, and the florist said that because that's the name that her mother gave, that they weren't going to reimburse her because they gave her the name, and her mother gave her the address to my office instead of the office out east. So the florist actually didn't make a mistake. It was her mom that made a mistake. Her mom put down her nickname and not her real name. Her mom just looked up the company name, and since I worked at the home branch, that's the address that her mother gave. And there was a person there with that exact name, so duh. So the florist was like, well, the name was right and the address that she gave was right, so they wouldn't reimburse her. And she thought that I should reimburse her and decided to get the owner involved. And the owner apparently thought the same thing, like, well, sorry, I mean, legally he couldn't make me do anything, you know? And I don't even think that he agreed with her in the first place. Her mom just simply made a mistake. But that's just a little story time for me, my first story time. If there's anybody out there who thinks that I should have paid for these flowers or reimbursed her mom in any form or fashion, let me know. I mean, maybe if she would have asked a different way and just wasn't kind of rude and snotty about it, or demanding of it, I should say, because that's kind of how she came off. She didn't ask, hey, can you help me out? She was like, you need to blah, 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 blah. I don't need to do anything but my work, and I was barely doing that at the time because I was ecstatic that somebody actually gave me some flowers. I was talking to my damn coworkers. But anyway, so if anybody else out there has an opinion about that, who should have paid for the flowers, who shouldn't have paid for the flowers, whose mistake was it, I'm just curious as to how someone else views this on the outside looking in. Okay, Cherry Coco signing off. I will be back with you guys probably next week or maybe sometime this week with another video. All right, see you guys soon.